The Amazon does not go quiet. It cannot. 10 million voices scream at all times. Frogs, birds, monkeys, insects. A wall of sound so thick you can feel it on your skin. That is why when a section of the southern basin went silent on a Tuesday morning, every living creature within 2 kilometers noticed. Something had entered the forest. Something that made 10 million voices stop. I put a prehistoric venomous dragon in the Amazon, and the Jaguars disappeared. To understand what that silence means, you need to understand what the Amazon is. This is not just a forest. This is the largest living system on the planet. 5.5 million square kilometers of green, breathing chaos. More species live in a single hectare of the Amazon than in the entire continent of Europe. There are 40,000 species of plants, 3 million species of insects, over 2,000 species of fish in its rivers alone. And somewhere in that impossible density of life, at the very top of the food chain, sits one animal, the jaguar. The jaguar is not the biggest cat in the world. It is not the fastest, but pound for pound, it might be the most dangerous predator alive. Its bite force is 1,500 pounds per square inch. That is stronger than a lion, stronger than a tiger, strong enough to bite through the skull of a caiman, to crack open the shell of a river turtle, to crush bone as easily as you would crush an egg. The jaguar does not suffocate its prey like other big cats. It does not grab the throat and wait. It bites directly through the skull. One strike, instant death. For 10 million years, nothing in this forest has been able to challenge that. But the jaguar has never met anything like what just arrived. On the southern bank of the Rio Negro, near a flooded section of forest where the water is black and still, something is lying in the mud. At first glance, it looks like a fallen tree, a long, dark shape motionless in the shadows. The trees do not breathe, and this shape is breathing, slowly, deliberately. Each exhale disturbing the surface of the water around its massive jaws. It is 7 meters long, longer than a saltwater crocodile. Its body is covered in thick, armored scales arranged in a honeycomb pattern that makes them nearly impenetrable. 4 powerful legs, each one ending in claws designed for gripping, tearing, and anchoring into flesh. A tail so heavy and muscular, it can break ribs with a single swing, and a mouth filled with curved, serrated teeth, each one designed not to hold prey, but to open it. This is Megalania, Venomous priscus, the largest venomous land animal that has ever existed. A monitor lizard the size of a crocodile, with the hunting strategy of a Komodo dragon, and a chemical weapon that no animal in the Amazon has ever encountered. Here is what makes this creature different from every predator in this forest. Every dangerous animal in the Amazon kills mechanically. The jaguar crushes, the anaconda constricts, the caiman drowns. They all rely on physical force applied in the moment. If they cannot overpower the prey right now, the prey escapes. Megalania does not need to overpower anything. It needs one bite. Its teeth are curved and serrated like steak knives. When it bites, it does not just puncture, it slices. It tears open gaping wounds that expose deep tissue to a cocktail of venom secreted from glands in its lower jaw. This venom is hemotoxic. It prevents blood from clotting. It induces rapid shock. It drops blood pressure so fast that the prey becomes disoriented within minutes. The Megalania does not chase. It bites, and then it follows. Slowly, patiently, for hours if necessary. The prey bleeds, it weakens, it stumbles, and when it finally collapses, the Megalania begins to feed. often while the animal is still alive. This is not a predator that wins fights. This is a predator that wins wars of attrition. And it just entered the most biodiverse battleground on the planet. Now, let us talk about why the Amazon is the worst possible place for every other predator and the best possible place for this one. The Amazon is hot, 30 to 35 degrees Celsius year-round, humidity above 80%. For a warm-blooded predator like the jaguar, this is exhausting. Every chase, every fight costs energy that is hard to recover in this heat. But for a cold-blooded reptile like the megalania, this is paradise. The warm, wet air keeps its body at optimal operating temperature without the need for basking. It can stay active longer. It can hunt at any hour. And the water, there is water everywhere. Flooded forests, rivers, swamps, streams. The megalania, like all monitor lizards, is an excellent swimmer. In a forest where water is the highway, this animal has unlimited access to every corner of the ecosystem. The jaguar has no idea what is coming. You are that jaguar. 90 kilograms of spotted muscle, silent paws, and a jaw that can split a skull. You are the most feared animal in this forest. You drink from the river at dawn. You sleep in the branches during the heat of the day. You hunt at dusk when the capybaras come to the water's edge and the caimans are sluggish. You have killed anacondas. You have killed caimans twice your size. You answer to nothing. But this morning, the forest smells different. There is something in the air you have never encountered. It is reptilian, but heavier, muskier, older. Like the smell of a caiman, but concentrated, amplified. Wrong. You follow it through the undergrowth, your belly low, your ears flat. The scent leads to the riverbank, and there, half submerged in the black water, you see it. At first, your brain tells you it is a caiman. You have killed caimans before. But this thing is not lying still the way a caiman does. It is breathing differently. Its body is too wide, too tall. And it has legs. 4 thick, powerful legs tucked beneath a body that stretches further than any reptile you have ever seen. Then the head turns. Slowly. A forked tongue flicks out, tasting the air. And you realize this is not a caiman. You do not know what it is. The megalania sees you, too. Its chemosensory tongue has already detected your scent, your body heat, your position. It does not move. It does not need to. It has been tracking you since you entered the riverbank. To the megalania, you are not a threat. You are not even a concern. You are a medium-sized mammal. 90 kilograms of warm meat in a forest full of warm meat. Let us pause here, because the confrontation that is about to happen will be defined not by strength, but by biology. The jaguar's greatest weapon is its bite. 1,500 pounds per square inch, aimed at the skull. Instant kill. But the megalania's skull is reinforced with thick bone and covered in armored scales arranged in a honeycomb microstructure. It is specifically evolved to absorb impact. A jaguar bite to the head of a megalania would likely crack scales but would not penetrate to the brain. The skull is too dense. The armor is too thick. Meanwhile, the megalania's greatest weapon is not its bite force, which is surprisingly weak for its size, only about 1,500 newtons compared to the jaguar's nearly 7,000. Its weapon is what comes after the bite. The venom. One laceration from those serrated teeth, one injection of hemotoxic venom into the jaguar's bloodstream, and the countdown begins. The jaguar's blood stops clotting. Internal bleeding accelerates. Shock sets in within 30 minutes. Death follows within 6 hours. The Jaguar can kill the Megalania, but only if it strikes the right spot with perfect precision. The Megalania can kill the Jaguar with any bite, anywhere on the body. The math is not in the Jaguar's favor. Back to the riverbank. You crouch lower. Every instinct tells you this is prey. It is a reptile. You kill reptiles. But something in the way it watches you, something in the absolute stillness of its body, triggers a different instinct. An older one. The instinct that says this is not prey. This is competition. The Megalania rises from the water, slowly. Water pours off its armored body as it lifts itself onto those 4 powerful legs. Standing, it is taller than you expected. Its head is at your eye level. Its body stretches behind it like a living wall of scale and muscle. The forked tongue flicks again, tasting you. You hiss. You bare your fangs. In your experience, this display has made every animal in this forest back down. Caimans slide into the water. Peccaries scatter. Even anacondas recoil. The Megalania does not recoil. Instead, it opens its mouth wide, showing rows of curved, serrated teeth stained dark at the base. It does not roar. It does not hiss. It exhales. A slow, deliberate breath that carries with it the smell of rotting flesh from its last meal. And then, it takes one step toward you. You retreat. For the first time in your life, you give ground to another predator. Not because you are afraid, because something deep in your neurology, something that has no name, tells you that getting close to this animal's mouth is a mistake you will not survive. The Megalania watches you disappear into the forest. It does not pursue. It does not need to. It turns back to the river, slides into the black water, and vanishes beneath the surface. But this is only the beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, the Amazon begins to change. A capybara is found on the northern bank, dead. The wound on its hind leg is deep, but not fatal. It should have survived. But the blood around the wound has not clotted. The animal bled out over several hours, unable to stop the flow. A young black caiman is discovered a kilometer upstream, dead in the shallows. Same pattern, a single bite on the tail. No struggle, no defensive wounds. Just one laceration and hours of slow, unstoppable bleeding. The forest begins to notice. Animals that usually drink at dawn shift to midday. Capybaras that grazed alone now cluster in groups of 20. The monkeys in the canopy who normally ignore the forest floor begin alarm calling at shadows near the water. Something is wrong below. You are now a capybara, the largest rodent on Earth, 60 kilograms of grass and survival instinct. You have lived along this river for 4 years. You know every sound. The splash of a caiman means stay on land. The rustle of a jaguar means freeze and hope. The scream of a harpy eagle means get under cover. You have a system. It works. But this morning, the system fails. You are at the river's edge, drinking. The water is calm. The forest sounds normal. Everything checks out. Then you feel it. A vibration in the mud beneath your front legs. Something heavy is moving underground. No, not underground, in the water, just beneath the surface. Moving toward you. Slowly. Your head snaps up. You scan the water. Nothing. Just black, still water. You take one step back. And then the surface erupts. 7 meters of armored reptile launches from the shallows. A mouth lined with dark serrated teeth clamps onto your hind leg. The pain is sharp but brief. The teeth slice through skin, through muscle into the tissue below. And then, just as suddenly, the animal releases. It lets go. It slides back into the water and disappears. You run. You can still run. The wound is painful, but you are alive. You rejoin your group on the bank. You breathe. You think you have escaped. You have not. Over the next 4 hours, the wound does not stop bleeding. A warmth spreads through your body that feels wrong. Your legs become heavy. Your vision narrows. By hour 3, you cannot stand. By hour 5, you are lying on the bank, breathing shallow, your heart slowing. By hour 6, the megalania emerges from the water and begins to feed. This is how it hunts. Not with speed, not with strength, with patience and chemistry. One bite, one retreat, one wait. And the Amazon, a forest built on fast, explosive predators, has no defense against a predator that kills in slow motion. 3 months in, the jaguar population along the southern basin has dropped by 40%. Not because the megalania is hunting jaguars, because the megalania is hunting everything the jaguars eat. Capybaras, caimans, peccaries. The prey base is collapsing under a predator that wastes nothing and fears nothing. The jaguars do not understand competition at this level. They are solitary hunters. They cannot organize. They cannot adapt their strategy. One by one, they abandon their territories along the river and push deeper into the forest, away from the water, away from the megalania's domain. But the megalania follows the water. And in the Amazon, the water is everywhere. The anacondas, surprisingly, are the first to adapt. They move upstream to narrower tributaries where the megalania's massive body cannot navigate. The black caimans hold their ground in the largest rivers where their size provides some protection. But the smaller caimans, the spectacled caimans that patrol the shallow flooded forests, begin to vanish. They are reptiles competing against a bigger, more venomous reptile on its own terms. They lose. The food chain does not break the way it did in the Serengeti. In the Serengeti, the chain snapped from the top. Here, in the Amazon, the chain dissolves from the middle. The prey animals that connected the small creatures to the large predators are disappearing. The capybaras, the peccaries, the smaller caimans. Without them, the jaguars have nothing to hunt. The anacondas have nothing to constrict. The harpy eagles have nothing to carry. The Amazon is not losing its king. It is losing its foundation. But nature does what it always does. It finds a new balance. The jaguars that remain shift entirely to hunting in the deep canopy. Monkeys, sloths, birds, prey they once ignored because the river provided everything. The anacondas become specialists of the small tributaries. The harpy eagles begin targeting larger prey, filling the gap left by the ground predators. And the megalania, having consumed the easy prey along the southern basin, begins to slow down. Its cold-blooded metabolism means it does not need to eat as often as the jaguar. One large meal sustains it for weeks. It basks in the rare patches of sunlight that penetrate the canopy. It swims the rivers at night, invisible beneath the black water. It becomes part of the forest, not an invader, a resident. The Amazon does not quiet down for long. Within 6 months, the wall of sound returns. Different voices, different patterns, but the same volume. The frogs that went silent when the megalania arrived begin calling again. The monkeys resume their morning chorus. The insects never truly stop, because the Amazon was never about one predator. It was never about the jaguar or the anaconda or the caiman. It was about the noise. The 10 million voices that fill every centimeter of air, every hour of every day. The sound of a system so complex, so layered, so relentlessly alive that no single animal, no matter how ancient, no matter how venomous, can silence it for long. The Megalania patrols the southern river in the early morning, its massive body cutting through the black water without a ripple. On the northern bank, a jaguar watches from the shadows of a ceiba tree, eyes locked on the shape moving through the river. It does not approach. It does not drink from this section anymore. It has learned. Somewhere in the canopy, a red-eyed tree frog sits on the same leaf it has always sat on. The branch no longer shakes. The forest has absorbed its newest resident, and the Amazon breathes. Not quieter, not louder, just different. If this video reached 10,000 likes, the most voted comment will decide which prehistoric predator enters the Amazon next. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when the noise stops again.